All right, today we are going to do a flip through of Beast Academy Level 3. The entire curriculum is composed of 8 books. There are 4 guidebooks, which are completely in color, and then there are 4 practice books, which are black and white. So I will be walking you through these books, trying to give you a detailed look inside and answer some questions about this curriculum, just to help you figure out if this might be a good fit for you, your student, and your homeschool. Because I know this is a curriculum that a lot of people are curious about. Some people find intimidating. For me, myself, when I first heard about it, this definitely felt quite outside my comfort zone. It's definitely non-traditional from what you normally think when you think of math curriculum. So it can take some getting used to. And we have used level 2. I have videos on level 2. And then today I'm going to show you level 3. First, I just want to show you the topics, the main key topics that are covered here. And you're going to notice that this looks quite a bit similar to a 3rd grade scope and sequence. We have shapes, skip counting, perimeter and area, multiplication, perfect squares, distributive property, variables, division, measurement, fractions, estimation, and area. Those are the overarching big topics of the year. I'll give you a little glimpse at the contents in this first book, and you can always pause that if you want to get a better look and reading all of those. So we have our little characters that come up. These are the same characters throughout Beast Academy. And the concept of the whole curriculum is that there's some monsters that are going to school. And they have different classes and they have different teachers in the school. So you have your chapter. Here's our first chapter on shapes. We're going to learn about angles, triangles, quadrilaterals, polyominoes. We have our first class here, and in the class the monsters are trying to make some shapes using toothpicks. Learning about angles right here. So something to note throughout the guidebook is they have these little stop signs. And the stop signs are where your child is supposed to stop and actually answer the question being asked before they turn to the next page, before they move on. So when you're reading this with your child, then ask those questions, have them stop and answer rather than just moving on. They also have little boxes near the bottom that tell you, okay, time to go to your practice book. So you're usually reading one small section of a chapter, and then you'll have several pages of practice to go on to the next time. So here we have a section on triangles. We have our little stop sign questions. So not just rushing through and reading to your kid, but taking the time to answer a question. Getting some vocabulary on equilateral right here. So we have equilateral, isosceles, scalene, triangles, different words for different types of triangles. All right. And then we get to this section and there's practice. They also sometimes have little games or little activity instructions here in the book for games that can be played with multiple players. And you just progress. So this is kind of our shape section. I'm going to show you a little bit of a peek into some of the other guides. You can just see some of the content and how it progresses. Looks like we're getting into a multiplication chart here and seeing how that works. And book C, variables, division, and measurement. Ooh. All right. We're representing some numbers with letters in these problems. Getting the hang of variables, which is great, and simplifying expressions. Some stuff that you probably remember from your algebra, pre-algebra classes back in the day. Of course, this is done at a little bit of a simpler level. They introduced using parentheses, an order of operation with parentheses in level 2, and my son was so excited, and he's just been loving the fact that he knows how to handle a problem that has parentheses in it. That's been fun. All right, little peek into D. Ooh, we got some fractions going on. Dealing with fractions very visually here, but we're also learning to work with fractions. 3/9 is equal to 6/18. All right. So those are our fun and colorful guidebooks. And then here is the practice books. Now, it might be valuable to read through those guidebooks and kind of get the instruction as you're talking through those little scenarios of the students talking with their teachers. But here is where the rubber really meets the road, is where you have your actual practice problems that you're solving. Because it's all fun to talk about math, but now can you actually apply that knowledge and start solving those problems? And they have quite a variety of problems in here. They often have different types of mazes, puzzles. They have some more traditional looking math, but they have a lot less what would be considered drilling than most elementary curriculums. A lot of times you're doing something new after 2 or 3 pages. It might be still related to the same topic, but it's a new application of it. So it looks like we're doing a lot of fun stuff with shapes and reasoning with different shapes here in the beginning. Then we get into our skip counting as a foundation for multiplication, word problems, problem solving. So if you really get into here and really start looking at these problems, they can be pretty tricky problems. And whenever they have an especially tricky problem, it will have a star or a double star. And the star or double star is a sign that they actually do have a hint for solving that problem in the back of the book. So we have finding the perimeter. Okay, so here that's pretty straightforward. Getting the handle on finding perimeter. Okay, now you know, hey, a little bit more complicated. Okay, a little bit more complicated. So they level it up pretty quickly. Okay, let's find the perimeter of a nonagon, not just a rectangle. So unlike other curriculums where you might stick with finding the perimeter of squares and rectangles for a long time, in just a couple pages you are taking things up a notch, which it's still the same concept. We're just making it a little bit more complicated. If we know the perimeter, we can find the length of one missing side. So that is a look inside there. Take a little peek here. All right. Missing parentheses. Ooh, so if this is going to equal 400, where should the parentheses go? If this is going to equal 180, where would the parentheses have to go? So this is what they're teaching with the distributive property. Quite interesting, quite exciting. And here in the back of each book is where you find the solutions and the hints if they are one of those star problems. My son always gets excited when he sees the star problems and he's like, oh, there's a hint. And he's also excited if once in a while we can solve them without looking at the hint. That's fun. Division. So you can see this is definitely not so much your ordinary 3rd grade math curriculum. You have to go into this ready and willing to engage with something that looks a little bit different, to move pretty quickly through different subjects because it's not giving as much practice on the same skills as many other curriculums. But it does dive in deep and it does give you a lot of practice with different types of problem solving. So here we're rounding fractions, making estimates, rounding each fraction to the nearest whole number. All right, so that is your look inside Beast Academy Level 3. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I am going to be using this for my son for his 2nd grade year because he is more advanced in mathematics. So remember, the number on the book is a guideline, and the age recommendation that they give for this is age 8 to 10. But remember, it's a guideline. It's not a rule. You can use this when it would fit your child, whether they are a little bit younger than that guideline or whether they're a little bit older than that guideline. All right, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time for more nerdy homeschool videos. Bye!